I'm Scott L. Miller. It's the 22nd of December, 2022. This is my vlog of daily life as a world traveler, and right now I'm here in Houston, Texas with all the dogs, and we are hanging out as the winter storm Elliott is just rolling in right now as we speak. It's been hitting the northern United States since last night, and today it's been working its way down, and we're starting to feel it here in Texas. We got up this morning and it was in the 40s. It was really, really pleasant, and it's not terrible now, but it is dropping quickly. We're starting to get just a little bit of precipitation, very, very little. It's sprinkling as I say this, but not enough that I have to worry about the camera or anything, so not a big deal. And the temperature has dropped a lot. We're going down about 20 degrees today, and it's going to be pretty cold tonight, but not tragic, but enough that people are having to worry about winterizing things and whatnot, because it's going to be much colder than we're used to in Houston. So today is Thursday, and it's our first full day here at the house in Texas, and we're able to relax. We don't have any traveling that we have to do today, and won't for about 9 more days before we head back to Costa Rica. So this is our chance to just relax and visit with the family, play with all the dogs, and spend some time in Texas. We're still doing a lot of shopping. I mean, it's Christmas time, right? That's what you have to do. But for us, like I've said before, this is a lot of our utilitarian shopping for the year. So it's getting supplies of socks and shoes and different clothing items and any little things that we need. I had to get new thumb screws for the GoPro, stuff like that. All that stuff is really important. So that has been going on pretty significantly, and one of the big things that we've had to do is find replacement parts for things, of course. So when we're dealing with, like Luciana has a tablet computer that had its hard drive die several months ago. I had to find that and get a replacement tablet computer, not a replacement tablet computer, a replacement hard drive for it while we were here. So that kind of stuff we have to do a lot of. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that, because it's very difficult to remember all the things you're going to need for the year. Now, as I've said in other videos, we do so much less shopping than we do in other circumstances, right? Just moving to Nicaragua, being a traveler in general tends to make you do a lot less shopping, but when you live in a place like Nicaragua, it makes you do even less than you would normally do as a traveler. So that kind of stuff has been pretty good, and we really don't need that much. But when we need things, we need them, and we really have to plan carefully, because little things like replacement parts, which are no big deal, and normally you would think nothing of it, that kind of stuff, while still not tragic, it does require us to plan appropriately, and sometimes months in advance, or wait months and then make sure we don't forget things. So we're working on all of that kind of stuff now. This is the big trip for that, and we have no plans to be in the U.S. We probably will, but we don't have any plans for the rest of the year. We'll be back next Christmas, we assume, and people will come down, sometimes can bring us stuff, but we really have to plan ahead. All of the kids this morning, it's been kind of they always tend to play a lot of video games with their cousins. The living room for yesterday and today has been pretty much the PlayStation 5 and everybody playing video games. The girls do have their new Steam gaming station that my father got them for Christmas, and that they're looking forward to setting up, but we don't have a controller for it with us. We have lots of controllers down in Nicaragua, but with us we don't have one. But we've been using the Steam controllers, which are great, and we really are sad that Steam has discontinued them, because they're perfect for the kind of games that we like to play. So we have 4, and they all still work, but they were discontinued years ago, so they're not going to keep working for forever. The PC world has moved to using the Xbox controllers for everything, and so we have tried using a PlayStation 4 controller that we have. It's a wired one because of the way that they work, and Luciana's gotten it to work in some games like Genshin Impact, but overall it doesn't work great, and apparently the Xbox One S and X controllers work really, really well with the PC, and so we got our first one of those in the hopes of hooking it up and seeing if that's going to be a good experience with the newer games. So that is actually supposed to arrive this afternoon. We had a very small delivery yesterday, and the only thing that I had show up is the light stands for my new lights. Not the lights, none of the fun stuff, just the stands. So that's the only thing I have. But I have a bunch of stuff that's supposed to arrive today, a bunch more tomorrow, and even more on Saturday. And we have a few more things to order, like my sneakers, but those I might buy locally. Overall, we have essentially everything ordered at this point that we're going to order. New studio lights for me, really big deal, and a new tripod. I do have a pretty decent tripod. It is probably about 30 years old, but it has held up great. Very happy with it, but It's really big and cumbersome, and I really need two in many circumstances, and I do need one that's a bit more portable, and I'm going to put quick release on one. Not that I don't have a quick release now, but a modern quick release that's a much quicker release. So I'm attempting to move to the Falcam 38 system. I've heard lots of great things about it. I've needed a system like that, so I'm trying that out to see what we think of it. And if it works really well, then I'll get more of that. But I'm just kind of trialing it right now with just a starter kit. But I have high hopes for that. I do really like a lot of that kind of stuff in photography. Has been really cool since I was buying that kind of stuff in the past. So I have a Peak Design wrist strap. I'm very happy with that. The Ulanzi F38 system, Falcam 38 system really seems like that's going to be great for a quick release, and so I'm excited to be trying that out and hopefully just make my cameras a lot easier to use, because one of the really hard things I have to deal with when making the show is just switching between cameras, going from tripod to not tripod to different things. I also got a clip so that I can put my GoPro on a backpack strap. And I'm hoping that that turns out to be useful. It was not very expensive, but there may be times that I do some filming for you guys with that, and that could be pretty interesting. I do sometimes wear one on my head. You guys know how weird that is, right? Like, you've seen pictures of me doing it, and when I'm doing that, it looks super strange. And it's no big deal for the most part, but when I'm walking around a neighborhood trying to do things hands-free, and I have that like when I'm walking the dogs, I look really weird. And your view is from up here, which is not necessarily bad, but it's not the only thing you want. Having a chest level view can be really nice as well. And especially for something like walking the dogs, it's much more likely to kind of get the dogs and see stuff rather than looking down at the road. I mean, it's a difference of about 2 feet of angle, plus it's just more flexible having that. So we're gonna give that a try and see what we think. And other than that, the cookie baking started this morning. Dominica and Francesca went out and did the grocery shopping early this morning and have started the cookie baking marathon. They have a lot done already, but that's going to be going on for a few days. Cookies are a big thing here for the holidays. For lunch today, we're addicted to the Marie Callender pot pies. We did the chicken, the vegetarian ones, right? The vegan ones. Chicken pot pies and beef pot pies. Both are quite good. And I'd forgotten that the beef ones even existed, because I mean, it's probably been pushing 25 years since I've had one. And having that in the vegetarian form really brought back some memories. I'm surprised that I was able to remember it, but I sure did, and it was really good as well. So that's really cool. We love being able to find things like that, and that gives us another food item to really look forward to here, and hopefully we can get that imported into Nicaragua at some point. That would be fantastic. A lot of these things like Beyond Burgers, Impossible Burgers, we don't really need restaurants to carry them. If the grocery stores would just, I'm waiting to get sprayed with water. It's gonna happen. Oh! I was not expecting to get sprayed because the dog was jumping in. The thing was going to, oh no, oh no, oh no. No, she's fine. She jumped in to go after LB. Yeah. So now we're wet. And we don't need restaurants to carry them. We just need grocery stores to carry the patties, because that we can make our own stuff, right? That's not a big deal. I mean, it would be great if restaurants did it, but if they just sold them in the stores and we can make our own, that would be really great. So that has been our morning here on the 22nd. I'm trying to get these so you guys get the update, and then I can just fill in the evenings, because it makes it way easier to edit and to keep up to date, so you guys are getting the most current news of everything. So all of our Amazon shipments are going to be coming here in a little bit, and for the most part, I am working. It is Thursday. It's a work day, and Valentina's in a car. Like people are short in the office, so I'm doing what I can to make sure I'm working as part of the team. And we have the beginning of the team holidays starting tomorrow, because Christmas falls on Sunday, and so we're trying to shift the days off for people, because obviously we're closed. Well, maybe not obviously, but we are closed for the most part on Sunday. We only have a staff of 1 that works Sunday instead of dozens of people. So we're trying to maneuver that and give some people tomorrow off and some people Monday off, and stagger and make it make sense. So I will fill in the rest of the day later, but first, while we're in the middle, please remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a hot cocoa. We'll call it a coffee, because that's the name of the site, buymeacoffee.com/ScottAlanMiller, but it can go towards a hot chocolate that'll help keep me warm here in cold America, where I'm not used to the temperatures, and I have 9 more days to go of putting up with these cold, cold weather situations. I'm just not used to it. And you may have noticed I'm wearing the same fleece and the same hat every day. I only have one hat and one fleece here, so I don't have a lot of variety. That I'm not going to use the money towards. I don't need more because this is the only time I need them. I leave them here. Well, not the hat, but I leave the fleeces here. We don't even take them with us. We can't find my pajamas though. I kept nice warm pajamas here for me to use and they're missing. Really unhappy about that. So buy me a hot cocoa and that helps pay for all the cameras and tripods and all the things that it takes to make this show. If you have any comments and questions, get them down there, down below. Scroll down, take a moment, say hi, invite some friends, post this on social media, just comment on the videos, whatever, and we're going to go on to the next stuff right now. All right, so the rest of the day, you know, it's Thursday, and there was a bit of work because we have to be ready for the holiday, but things do start to taper off as you get ready for Christmas, and tomorrow's going to be a pretty slow day, we think, although we're down to very skeleton crew, so it's going to be a little bit busy for those of us who are still around. For dinner tonight, we kept it pretty simple. The kids wanted Marie Callender pot pies again. They love them. It's such a different thing than we normally get, although Luciana does make pot pies at home. They're quite different than these. It's a different style bread and everything. We have different ingredients. We don't have the fake meats that they have here, so so that's something that they like, but it's different, and we haven't been able to have that. I'm going to turn a little bit because there's actually quite a bit of wind. I hope this isn't too bad for you guys listening. I'm not sure what I'm stepping on. It's actually windy enough that this fountain over here, I hope you can see it, is actually spraying me every so often. It's that windy. That's pretty far away, and it's not that giant of a fountain. So the thing I want to talk about today, because this came up, someone asked me about it. You can look in the comments, and it did come up. They said that, you know, they'd posted some places. I'm not sure if it was in my threads or in somewhere else, but they were attacked for having considered moving to Nicaragua or looking at Nicaragua or vacationing in Nicaragua, and they asked me, is this something that that we see? Does this really? Do people really have this reaction? And I think it's important to talk about because if you're going to spend any amount of time looking at anything in Nicaragua, if you're going to be involved in any online discussions, you're going to end up getting a lot of trolls. And this is very different. If you're looking to go to Spain or France or Thailand or anything, you're going to get some people who are like, ooh, I heard it's scary, and some people who are like, oh, I think that's going to be fun. And you get kind of a moderate range of insight. And some people will be like, oh, I went there and I had a good experience or a bad experience. But when you mention Nicaragua, you get almost automatically, as if it's an automated system, these responses. And if you do this on Reddit or on YouTube or Twitter, it doesn't matter. All of them, it happens. And it tends to be very, very fast. And the wording of these posts are very similar. And they all rely on the same things, which are, I've got this giant bird flying at me. Sorry. He was coming close enough. I wasn't sure if he was coming at me or near me, and then he turned at the last second. But if I didn't have the camera, he may have made a run for it. He didn't know I was going to catch him. Like, what are you doing here? Like, is this? I'm kind of on his turf. He's a little bit turfed, I guess. But he's got his friends are over there, mostly. He came over. He flew right at me because he wanted to investigate what's going on over here. The wildlife here is a little bit aggressive. There's also a lot of turtles in this water. All right, coming back to topic. So you're going to get this really unique experience talking about Nicaragua. There's this incredible amount of ire that comes up in this really weird way. It is extremely specific, and it is a pattern that's very rare, and it's always statements of something false that are things that are being repeated in fake news. So you can find fake news reports to back up the things that they're saying. And they're the things we hear a lot, right? When you live in Nicaragua, people will say to us, well, I watch your videos, and what we're being told in the news says you couldn't be making these videos because there's, you know, something going on, or you know, you'd be arrested, you're not allowed on the streets, it's in lockdown, or all these things. That's one thing. So they'll say, because it's illegal for you to go outside with a camera, it must be, and they'll come up with something. Well, but it's not illegal to do it, right? Like, the first thing was fake news, and then they'll make some statement about how risky you're being, or how definitely you're going to have something bad happen to you based on this false thing that they're repeating. And it's a thing that's so obviously false that obviously no person would just believe that, right? It's very standard fake news as you get anywhere, but it's repeated constantly. So that alone is a big thing that you get. And then they tend to be very aggressive, right? Like, you're a terrible person and you should have terrible things happen to you because of things that don't make any sense. And it's a consistent pattern used in fake news releases for, and we see it a lot in the United States over the last few years. This is the kind of stuff they've used for, political posts in the United States. The U.S. has become very accustomed to this, right? And this pattern is so awkward. Like, as for me, when I read it, I'm just like, my gosh, how obviously fake could this be? Like, they made no attempt at sounding like an actual poster, right? It's all like news that's clearly fake, an emotional reaction that doesn't make any sense, a degree of hatred towards you personally that doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense unless it's all coming from some agency who is trying to play down the value of tourism or investment in a place like Nicaragua. And the wording, the things are written in such a way that really only Americans would even find them worrisome, right? Oh, you don't have, American flags everywhere, right? Canadians would be like, yeah, we don't have that either. What's wrong with that, right? It's like this weird Americanism. All of it is playing on American emotional stuff. And if you're an American, it's hard to pick up on that. If you live outside of America for a long time, you read these things and you're like, wow, that was incredibly specifically designed to play on an only American emotional response. Anyone reading this from any other location would be like, so where's the negative in this thing, right? Where's the bad part, right? As one of the things is the claim that, oh, a criminal was arrested. Okay, why is that bad? Only in America would that specific criminal be seen as above the law and they shouldn't be arrested, right? Anywhere else would be like, thank goodness they arrested that criminal, he was a threat. So it's a really, really targeted anti-American emotions, right? Not anti-American, but it's clearly, I mean, let's be honest, it's coming from the U.S. government. It has to be. Not some huge thing from the top. It's just some agency has decided that they're going to attempt to downplay the value of tourism and investment in Nicaragua. And to do so, they're going the cheapest route possible, which is just spam bots spamming onto social media. And so this is probably a very low-level person with one very low-level decision and a very tiny budget, but that's all it takes because we're talking about a tiny, tiny country. And so the number of people talking about it, the number of people saying, oh, I'm looking at retiring in Nicaragua, it doesn't take any amount of effort to have a spam bot that goes out, looks for someone to post that, and then posts one of several variations of the exact same threatening sort of post to go with that. And of course, they can't follow up with any kind of logical argument, but that's not really the point. The point is to get you upset, to get you to react emotionally, to get you to, how you doing? To get you to question your decisions. It's fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? It's FUD. They don't have to make sense. They don't have to back it up. They don't have to be real in any way. They just have to sow that uncertainty. And then there's always going to be people who are like, well, I heard, things are bad there, right? Do you mean 40 years ago when the U.S. attacked them? Yes, the things were bad. Sure. Yeah, like everywhere. Right? That's like visitors to the U.S. Oh, I hear there's a civil war. Well, there was, it was 180 years ago, but there was, like, that's legit, right? So it's how much history do you dig up? It's weird that a lot of the things are specifically things that are, this is one of the weirdest, right? They'll say things that are specifically happening in America and pretty much nowhere else and be like, oh, we heard that happens there. Well, it doesn't. It does happen in America, the place that you're trying to pretend we should go to instead. That's a really weird, and yet it's effective, right? Wow, there's a lot of wind. I'm hoping that this microphone does a good job of cutting this out. We're definitely going to have the noise reduction on this video, even though it's generally quiet. Although the water fountain in the background is a little bit much as well. Sorry, I can't get the good light because I have to face away from the wind to some degree. But so the question is, will you see this? And the answer is yes. If you're going to have conversations about Nicaragua, almost certainly you are going to see this thing that's obviously from the U.S. government being posted, and it doesn't outright make strong accusations. It is designed to make you question obvious logical reality. And people tend to, when you don't know, right, you've never been, wow, maybe I don't know something, right? Maybe it is a completely illogical, weird place that doesn't act the way that people think it does, and the videos I'm seeing aren't real, and the people who are living there aren't real. And people will simply claim, oh, I've been there and terrible things happen. Really? Can you show me a picture of you being there? I don't even know who you are, right? I've never had one of these bots that claims to be this thing ever produce a web page, ever produce an account, ever produce a picture of themselves, right? These aren't real people. And if you follow up, one of the things, not to toot my own horn, but one of the things about my channel and many like it that are coming out of any place, right? We're recording ourselves all the time. This is not some deep fake of some random made up guy with it. I'm actually in these places, actually filming these places. Of course, I'm in Houston right now, but in a week I'll be back, and I'm showing what it actually looks like. Draw your own conclusions, right? Look at the streets I'm walking around. Does it look safe? Sure, I have some opinion that may matter. Oh, I was there. It looked safe, but it felt kind of dangerous. Okay, that would be invaluable input. I almost never feel that something's dangerous, right? Just to be clear, I walk around and people go, wow, that actually looks, and people will actually say it looks safer than they thought, but then they'll say, well, that looks kind of dangerous. And it's like, well, that's often an American perspective. Like, high fences are a common thing because petty crime is more of a risk, and it's easy to put up a fence and just make that not a problem, right? So people do. And in the United States, we tend to have very strongly locked houses with alarm systems, right? We have a very different defense mechanism for our homes, and we have very minor, I'm just going to turn around and show the fences of the house behind me, right? If you wanted to get into the yard of this house behind me, you just hop that fence. That's not going to stop you, right? In Nicaragua, we would have a fence that would stop you, right? But the difference is that house is completely locked up. I couldn't get into that house. Hopping that fence would do essentially nothing to help me get into that house, right? I would have to physically breach the house to get in. But in Nicaragua, once you've breached the fence, the house is probably open because it's open air. Everything's open. So you have to have that defense of a locked house moved out to your yard. And then your yard is secure, not just your house, which is nice. But that looks different to American eyes, and so that perspective sometimes makes it look more dangerous, even though it isn't. So it's many things like that people will play on. But if you're watching my videos, you're watching other people's videos, look around at what you see. Are we in dangerous neighborhoods? No. Are we showing all over the country? Absolutely. You're seeing a broad variety of things. I'm going to cough. And, this is what's real. You can't hide this. You can't fake it. Yes, I can intentionally walk around better neighborhoods. I can avoid bad ones. And to some degree, I do. Everyone does, right? No place do you intentionally walk around the worst places unless you're like Indigo Traveler or something, and that's his whole point. But by and large, you're showing the things that are interesting. And I'm not picking out the best neighborhoods, but I'm not picking out the worst ones either. I'm picking relatively middling things that are interesting. If I went to the worst neighborhoods, it would actually not be very interesting, right? It would be more shanties and more trash. And however, I do very little picking at all. I simply pick directions and walk much of the time. My point is, there's going to be a lot of this FUD. Take it with a grain of salt, apply logic, and say, is there any validation behind this, right? Is any actual legitimate news source actually covering these things? And in some cases they are, and I have to point out, when things have happened that people pointed out to me in the news and said, you need to go, oh, look at the news, this terrible thing, how could you be there? And I go look at the news and I say, well, instead of reacting emotionally to it, read what actually happened, right? And tell me if there's a bad thing in this thing. And of course, sometimes bad things happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't. But quite often when someone's having a major emotional reaction to news of this type, it's often that it's being portrayed in one way. Oh, this person was arrested. Yes. Did they commit a crime? Well, yeah, they did. Okay. So is it bad that they were arrested? If you were in the United States and this person committed this crime, would they have been arrested? Well, I don't know. Right? Well, if they were arrested, would that be bad? No. If they weren't arrested, would that be bad? I suppose. Okay. So you just read an article that had a negative spin, but the actual events it stated were a good thing, right? Oh, yeah. Marketing goes a long way, and news agencies use this. They will tone articles in such a way, and people are amazingly susceptible to this. And just everyone is. Sorry, I do have a bit of a tickle. And the tone of an article will often create a reaction regardless of what the news is, right? If you portray the liberation of a bunch of people as them being set free and you tone it really negatively, you'll have that feeling of a jailbreak, even if they were hostages, right? Or if you treat prisoners as if they're hostages and make it sound great that they were able to break free, people will see a prison break as a great thing. It's all about the tone and not about the actual what you're reading. And that's how a lot of the fake news happens. They take something that has an element of truth and then they spin it to make you think that it's something that it isn't, right? And that's important when you're reading these news. And then they take that and then make false statements based on the assumptions of that, the implications, not the actual truths. And people see the implications often as being truth. And so because of that, they're able to take this, make a foundation, and then make extrapolations, and then make false projections. And it's kind of a loaded question type argument, which is a logical fallacy, but you're going to get them. Don't be surprised that you get them. Expect them. Just be ready. You have to let the water roll off your back. Anytime you're doing something really good, anytime you're not following the status quo, anytime you're not doing what the government or society just expects you to do, you're going to get pushback, right? And you would not believe the things you get pushed back on. Oh, Nicaragua, their terrible treatment of women. Really? Ranked number 5, the best country in the Western Hemisphere for women's rights? You're complaining that I went from one of the worst to the best in the hemisphere? Why? You hate women? What's your beef, right? Like, oh, we went from a less safe country to a safer country? Why is that bad, right? And people won't point out the relational, right? Oh, but there's still danger. Yes, it's not perfect. No place is, right? But it's safer. Why is less safe better, right? There's all these, and I work in a field, I work in IT, which is a business field. And when you're dealing with people who do risk analysis and they're not really treating it professionally and they're treating it emotionally, you get these exact same things, right? All of this, and that's partially why it drives me crazy and partially why I see it so much, which is why I think my insight on it is important. I spend risk analysis as a huge part of my career, right? I spend all this time working with businesses, helping them understand risk, and you notice when doing decision making that people will often use well, I'm not willing to do the thing that makes sense unless it's perfect, but I'll do something reckless and stupid without evaluating it. I'll magically treat that as a default. And if you can't give me something perfect, I will not consider something better. And you're like, that's the dumbest thing ever. It's like, if you can't give me food that's completely healthy and has 0 calories, I will not stop drinking soda and eating lard. Nope, unless you can give me perfect. I realize that cream cheese and lettuce are better, right? But it's not perfect. It still has calories. It's still not exactly perfect. So I'm not willing to make a change. That doesn't make sense, right? Seatbelts don't save you 100% of the time. Therefore, I'm not willing to wear one, right? You could somehow die because you wore a seatbelt. True. It's not 100% effective. True. Therefore, they're dumb. That's not how logic works, right? But that's the kind of stuff people use it in business all the time to get something that they emotionally want. It's a way of avoiding logic, a way of avoiding good decision making, so it's a life lesson. Look for that. It's going to happen all over the place. It happens in business, it happens in your career, and it happens when you're looking at moving to a country and the way that people try to manipulate you by posting things online to make you question reality. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, let's put them down below. If you had conversations like this, what have people told you? Let's talk about that. If you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. The link is going to be on the screen and down below. It's buymeacoffee.com/ScottMiller. That comes directly to me. It does so much to help the channel. Remember to put this on social media, share with your friends, let people know about the show. It's the only way we can keep growing. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed your holidays. I think at this point, we're already into the new year by the time you see. No, this will be before Christmas, actually. Wow. Trying to keep up with what date things are posting. No, it will not be. It will be after Christmas. It will be before New Year's. I've completely lost track of time. You'll be seeing this on Thursday morning, the 29th. So I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you're looking forward to an exciting new year. We will be flying back to Costa Rica on the 1st, and see you all tomorrow.